Okay, so you used to got used to writing multiplication like this. So 6 times 2 equals 12, something like that. But now, in algebra, they're using that x as a variable all the time. So you're not going to use the x for multiplying anymore. Instead, you're going to write it a bunch of different ways. One way is you can use a dot. And then the other way is parentheses. So another way you can write this is 6 times 2. But now you don't need the dot anymore, so you can just do it like this. And that equals 12. And also, you don't have to have both of them in parentheses, so you can also have it like this, 6. And if you put a 2 here, that is also the same thing. Okay, so you're not going to be using the x for times anymore, because that would be confusing with the letter x for a variable. So the other thing is multiplying pluses and minuses, and there's an easy way to know how to do this. So if you are multiplying a positive number by a positive number, you're always going to get a positive number. If you're multiplying a negative number by a negative number, you get a positive number. And you can think of it as that and that come together to make the plus sign. Anytime you multiply a positive times a negative, you get a negative. But if you're multiplying a bunch of numbers together that are positives and negatives, there's an easy way to know how it's going to turn out. So if you've got a negative times a negative, that's going to be a positive. If it's times another negative, it's negative again. And if it's times another negative, it's positive again. And if I do it one more time, now that's 5. So all you got to know is that if there's an even number of negatives being multiplied, so if there's 4, that's an even number, then that's always going to be a positive number. Anytime you get an odd number, so if I add one more times negative, I'm going to get a negative result because it's an odd number of negative numbers you're multiplying. So if you took a 5 times a negative 2, you're going to get a negative 10. But if I now do a times negative 2 again, that's going to be a positive 20 because there's an even number of negatives and they cancel each other out. So it's going to be a positive 20. If I were to multiply this times negative 2 again, so it's 5 times 2 times 2 times 2, and that would be 40, but it's going to be negative because there's an odd number of negatives, so that's going to be a negative 40. So if you're multiplying a bunch of negatives together, you have to just count how many are there. If it's an odd number, it's negative, and if it's an even number, it's positive.